All right, what's up, guys? My hair's a little jacked up. All right, so I got chat rolling. We're just gonna go through some charts. Ooh, EOS is starting to look pretty good. All right, guys. I'm just gonna do some charts. Gonna go through a bunch of charts for you guys. EOS was a little high risk, but I like this type of setup. It's like a U-shaped setup. I call it the gamma pattern, where it comes down, forms this, like that. I don't know if you've ever seen the letter gamma. Gamma, Greek letter. I think it's gamma. What's the little micro U one? I forgot what the letter that's called. That one. Mu. Yeah, so it's like, it looks like that, the mu pattern. I thought it was gamma, but yeah, so this mu pattern, I see that a lot. So it kind of looks like this little like mu pattern. It's kind of what Bitcoin's doing right now as well. But Bitcoin's looking a little bit weaker. The volume is just absolutely abysmal. I don't know if you guys can see that volume down there. Audio's not working? You guys can't hear me? Can you guys hear me? So the biggest thing is we are looking for higher time frame setups. So I'm on the 5-minute chart. So the reason why I'm on a 5-minute chart, and I apologize, I've mostly been letting my analysts trade for the past couple of days. I have been working on that 21-day trading challenge, and it is almost done. I'm super excited for that. And then also had a few design stuff going on with the trade management app that should be come. I fear you, baby. This should be coming out in the next like 3 months. So that'll be really cool. And I might need some help naming it. I have a couple of brand name ideas, but we might do like a community naming of the app. But okay. So let's just take a look at we're going to go from top down. So weekly, 3-day, daily, 12-hour, 4-hour, 1-hour, 30-minute, all the way down to the 5-minute chart. We'll look at Bitcoin first. Personally, Bitcoin was looking a little bit toppy to me. So this wasn't really where I wanted to be, just because, you know, from 8,700 to even like 10,000, this was like, you know, 13, 14, 15%. So I was looking, you know, for alts that were lagging behind Bitcoin, that looked a little bit more bullish, because, you know, 8,800 to 10,000, even though, you know, 9,800 was the target, unless you're taking like a 10x long for, you know, 120%, 12% just wasn't really, you know, exciting me too much. How did you do the box with the percent? Okay, so you just hold shift. It's like a rule bar. You can also click this thing over here. Let me see. Hold on. Let me zoom this out. So this little rule bar thing, when it's clicked, it just, you can drag it up or down. You can also just hold shift. So when you're up here and you want to like do a measurement, you just click shift and drag it up. Okay. So let's start with the weekly time frame. So let me remove, no, let's just keep those for a second. So weekly resistance, this is just helpful for like higher time frame stuff. Let's zoom into the 1 hour, close this down. You can hide these like hourly and stuff like that, make it easier. All right, so I drew these kind of like high level, these red lines just kind of help me give like, get the support and resistance. So one thing is, this looks like accumulation volume. You can see how it died off at the bottom here. This is very strong buy volume, so it confirms that this trend is real. It confirms this uptrend is absolutely valid. So when we see large buy volume like this, you know, the thing is we want to look for pullbacks. The first pullback that I see here is the 7,200 level. And the 7250 level, which lines up with this. If we break this and we don't hold this level here, which is the 8200 level, which is the one that I was just talking about earlier. So if we don't hold this level, then the most sensible and obvious level is the 7200, and that matches the CME gap, which is the futures market. So if it holds 8200, ideal zone to enter. And you know, the top is 10,000 here. So, you know, that could be a good move because that's like a 20% measured move. But I'm looking at EOS and I'm looking at Ethereum. I think that they've got more bullish structures than Bitcoin, because if we look at the weekly time frame here, it's got a pretty big move just back up to this weekly resistance here, which, you know, makes the most sense. So on the Bitcoin pairing, it's got a, you know, 21% move. Now, if this can move 21% while also at the same time Bitcoin is going up or just, you know, kind of stays steady, well, then we may see another measured move up to this next fib level, which will be a 40% move, that 0.618 level from the top to the bottom on the EOS tether pair. So I was liking EOS more. The volume's pretty good. As the price has gone up here, the volume has been steadily going down, but it's mostly buy volume on the weekly. On the daily, the volume's been pretty consistent, especially from the bottom here. You see massive buy spikes, massive buy spikes, massive buy spikes. We just had our big first sell spike, considering. But the thing that I'm looking at is these fib levels are being incredibly well respected. You can see the 236, we broke up, we came down and we kind of held that pretty well. Came up, rejected at the 382, came down, formed this bull flag. That's where we bought in before. And then made this nice move up, and then we got rejected at around the 0.5 fib, and then we came right back down to that 0.382. Now, when we add in our moving averages, we can see that on the daily, the 20 MA is coming up to that 382 level around $7. And also when we zoom in here, we just basically got a really nice SR flip here. So it rejected, came up, retested, and then bounced. So that's why I like this. On a high time frame level on the daily, we came down, retested this level, and now we're bouncing. And it's already at $7.49. Before, when I said you can enter into there, I think it dropped down to like $7.20, $7.28 or something like that. So that's moving pretty nicely. Yeah, $7.29. So it's already up 3%. Like I said, you can put a stop below this level here, because if we lose this trend right here, then, you know, I just want to be out, because it most likely will test the lows or even break this 382. So pretty low risk when I sent the trade out. It's high risk but low risk because it's kind of dependent on Bitcoin. So less than 2% risk. 729 is, you know, you can set your stop loss there now. But again, you know, we can always wait for better setups. This is kind of knife catching. I saw some reflexive volume. What was it? What else did I see? Yeah, the 50 MA on the 4 hour was catching it. 12 hour hit the 20 MA, and then the daily, it was still holding that 7 EMA. So a little bit of knife catching just because it's in a little bit of a rally, and we've got 2 days before the big June announcement, and they just got listed on Coinbase. So there's some stuff going on with that. Okay, so check out the TradingView training video. Tons of awesome tips in there. Yeah, Dave, if you're a new member, make sure you guys hop into the training area. Yep, I can go over that stuff with you guys. So in training, there's a lot of good stuff in here. There is the trading classes right here. And there's going to be a lot more in here, but Mastering TradingView, this is like a 2-hour live stream. Creating watch lists, this is really, really important. This allows you to scan the market very, very quickly. These are all my personal watch lists. You might have to add in the new IEO coins, or I can update those, but it's like Sealer, FET, Matic, and then Harmony when it comes out. The Ultimate Guide to Risk Management, I would highly recommend. This is the first video you guys need to watch. And then the Art of Setting Stop Losses. So these two right here will answer a lot of questions that a lot of you guys have. You know, how to do stop losses in uptrend, how to do stop losses in a bull trend. You know, stop losses are Why we use stop losses isn't, I mean, you can use them to lock in profit, but it's to invalidate your trade thesis. So, a very tight stop, a very loose stop would be here, because if we break down there, my thesis is that it will retest the lows and you can, buy back in around $7. A loose stop loss is below this swing low, because if it breaks this, breaks this support here, then, we're probably going to fall back down and retest here, or retest this 236. So a stop loss, the whole reason for a stop loss is to invalidate our trade thesis or our trade idea. So it's below strong supports. You can even use the VPVR, which is the volume profile. I've talked about this a lot in other streams. So here the volume profile isn't showing a lot of support at the 382 level. Maybe if we zoom out, it'll give us, on the VPVR, I always like to use at least 200 bars, just so you, whoops, not 2000. I like to use 200 bars just because it gives you a little bit more of an accurate assessment. So the real support is at $6. You could see massive volume was exchanged back here and over here. So the VPVR is also a good tool, but it also shows you where resistance is at. So if we can break out of this 860 level, there's not much resistance till the 618. So getting to $10 is very easy once it breaks this 857 level, just because there's like little to no resistance. And then if it can break this 618, it's kind of thin air up here. You can see there's almost no volume on the side of this chart here. Okay, so XBT. Let's get back to Bitcoin. All right, so from the weekly perspective, we want to look at the weekly open, look at the weekly close. So the weekly open was all the way up here. So this is now our new resistance, and this is a strong resistance. So bullish, we want to see that level reclaimed, and that level right now is 87.47. And then the weekly close, we don't have that yet, but the previous weekly open was here. So that gives you kind of a range of where this market might trade, but that is a very big wick and doji, so it's going to be very, very interesting how that closes on Sunday, and that'll give us a lot of information, because again, we've had nothing but straight up weeks for the last like 18 weeks. It's been going up, 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 up. This is the most little indecision right here that we've had, and the rest has just been strong volume, strong moves up on the weekly. The RSI is starting to peak a little bit, but there's no divergence on the weekly yet. But let's take a look at the daily and the 3-day. So 3-day, we've got a pretty strong bearish divergence to the downside. You can see we came up. And also, this is what I was saying today, we've got this rising wedge. So if we break this rising wedge structure, that's when we're going to want to get out. Or that's when we're going to want to just stay out and let the market tell us what's going to do. And we can also take a short. That's on the 3-day chart. You can see we've got a very high volume profile node here, right where we bounced. And again, this 20 MA, this is what I was talking about before. This 20 MA supported us on this bounce, and it supported us on this bounce. And we've also got this high volume node at 8,000. So 8,000 is looking like a clean support. If you want to be in Bitcoin, like I said, you can be in Bitcoin, set a stop below here for 5% loss, but you can also, on a smaller time frame, we have basically this trend line here coming up. So you can just basically set a stop loss below here for 2%, so 8,200. You can also go less risk at around 8,250, 8,240. So all of those are valid stop losses. It depends on what your goal is. If you're trying to hold in through here, if we break this trend line, for me, I don't want to be in this. I don't want to be in this at all. I'm not in Bitcoin right now. I'm mostly in EOS, USDT, just with like 30% of my profile with or my portfolio with 2% stop. So if this breaks, that's very, very bearish, and most likely all of our trades that we take right now would get stopped out. So that's why we're not really. That's why I'm not really putting out any signals per se, just because there's a difference between me trading myself, and there's a difference between putting out high risk trades for the group as a whole. And so we look for higher quality, lower risk, more swing trade positions where we don't have to open and close them all the time. Kevin Lewis, you said, what's the rule with the fib as far as top to bottom, bottom to top? Yeah, so that's really simple. So let me just remove all these indicators to make it really, really clean. If you guys have any questions about charting or anything while we're doing these member live streams, these are for you. So just ask any question. So when you're looking for a pullback level, so what's our basically, if we long from down here, if we think that this is the bottom, like we hit that 20 MA moving average. So if we are doing a fib, we're going to pull from the top, and then we're going to pull from the bottom, and this is going to give us basically targets that we're going to use. Oftentimes, 618 is a very frequent pullback, but if you look here, you're just looking at support resistance, where this thing could move to. So this looks like a previous support that could act as resistance. So if you're looking at a long, then 2% here at the 0.5 fib or the 0.618. So that's how we draw it from the top to the bottom to top. This is like if we were looking to, find out where it would be supported if it pulled back. So if it moves up to here and we think this is the top, well, we might look to buy on a 618 or 786. So you move from the bottom to the top here, and it also gives you the 1.618 extension, which we nailed to the money. Now, if it breaks down, the 2618 extension is down here at 7,400. The most logical place is 7,200 based on a lot of information. If you guys look at the futures chart, BTC1. I posted this in chat, but so we've got this new gap because futures just opened, and it looks like it's going to try and like gap up maybe 8,500. That's what I was saying before. It might gap up and then kind of fall back down. We had this huge gap here, which looks like it almost got closed. So pretty close, 8,200. But there is still a gap that exists right here, which is the 7,200 level, which has not been filled in any way, shape, or form. So we could see a push down to this lower level. If in this rising wedge, if it breaks down with volume again, down to 7,200, that would be like a flash wick, flash crash. There's some weird stuff going on though with Bitfinex. HSBC was just fined, sued for dealing with money laundering, which is not what you want to see as far as Bitcoin. That's why I kind of gave the call up here. There was just a lot of rumblings, a lot of rumors, and then the longs were way out of position. So that's why I said let's just kind of move to USDC. I thought you said gaps don't count in parabolic. No, gaps do count in parabolic. Typically, when you get a gap like this, that's called a breakaway gap, and a lot of times they don't come back and fill right away. But the CME market, if you look at the volume on the CME market. Okay, so EOS is a high risk trade, Ronak, and so it's kind of predicated on the fact that Bitcoin needs to hold a little bit. I did see it was holding that trend line, and then just in general, EOS looked like it wanted to move, especially on the USD chart after that support resistance flip. So that's why I said I was buying some EOS. So if you look at the futures chart, and let's just look at the daily. The volume has been massive. Buy volume here, massive buy volume on this gap up here. This liquidated about $400 million of short sellers on the futures chart. But what happens if they were shorting here? This was that Bitstamp FUD, but if you've got a huge short sell down here and you're trying to just close your position at like break even, let's say you're like $200 million here, it only cost, what's the calculator? I think it was 47,000. And at the time it was, where was this here? So 7,500. No. How many Bitcoin was sold on it? Yeah, we'll look at OMG Saber. But yeah, so where we're at right now, we moved up. So I could definitely see us just kind of like taking out these lower lows and just kind of, a quick wick, just similar to this. So if you're going to put in some hero bids on Bitcoin, 7,200 is a pretty decent place to put them. But you can see gaps. Those gaps usually come up and get filled. Gap here, got filled there. You know, that's usually what we look for on the futures chart. Gap here, comes up, fills it on this side, gap there, filled it right there, it comes up, breaks it down, gap, filled it there. I mean, gaps usually come back to get filled. But the biggest thing that has been the biggest indicator has been funding, and funding was really, really terrible for longs. And so and still, even with all the liquidations, longs didn't close too much. There's a anti-liquidation. I don't know if these guys have it. No. Okay, so this is a pretty good RR calculator for leverage trading. Blockchain whispers. There we go. Okay, so we can take a look at the funding. There's also a site called CoinFarm. Coin.farms. Did they shut that down? This is pretty helpful. I just kind of seen open positions on Bitfinex, BitMEX, shorts. That's low time frame. So BitMEX, it looks like shorts are slightly over longs. Let's look at Blockchain Whispers, see what this shows. So this is showing on the 24-hour basis that longs are still over shorts. And this is pretty accurate, and longs are still over shorts here. This was very, very out of control, though. This was like 68, 69%. So longs are still much higher than shorts, so we could still have more of a long squeeze to the downside. So everything is very, very high risks, even still where we're sitting right now. Okay, do you guys want me to go through do some altcoin charts, or does that kind of help you guys understand like the strategy, what we're looking at? I know that there are some alts that are moving pretty well. Let's look. TRX, I was watching for this to get broken first. I didn't really want to be in TRX until this trend line got broke first on the daily. So this is basically still in a downtrend. We bounced off here, had a decent like bullish pennant, broke up. This could be a bull flag, but I don't like to long into resistance until resistance is broken. So TRX, you know, I think will probably be a good trade, but I'd probably look for something like that first. Okay. Let's look at EOS. Where's EOSM? EOSM 19. So it looks pretty decent. The hope is that we just get like a nice little 4% move up there. Do I look at the daily first? I always look at the weekly first, and then I look at the daily. And sometimes I look at the 3-day, and then I shift down to the 4-hour. And depending on what's going on, I'll go down to the 1 hour, the 30-minute. And what I like to do is I like to look at all my moving averages like this, and I like to see, is anything being respected? Can we rely on anything? On the hourly, the 200 MA caught EOS perfectly, and it was also an SR flip there as well. So if we can reclaim this 100 MA, I'll be very, very bullish. But usually a bounce off the 200 MA will send us to the 50 MA or this top line moving average. And so I feel fairly okay with being in this trade. I wish I would have caught it down here at the 200 MA. I wasn't looking at my charts at the time, but. Yeah, so I tweeted something about that with about EOS. Something's going on with EOS. They've got a massive, I think they've got a really big, massive news thing up their sleeve. They bought a lot of their shares back at a premium, and they also just got listed on Coinbase. And so I don't know, there's some big stuff going on with EOS, and I'm not really sure what it is yet. It could be a partnership, it could be a secret project. I do have some inside intel on, you know, some of the projects that they're launching on. I did sign some NDAs, but a lot of them were working with the US government, even though they're like a Chinese-based company. But that is, I don't know if it has anything to do with it, to be honest. I've tapped some contacts, but none of them can give me a straight answer. Yeah, and they also bought 33 million RAM. And Mark, on the investing side, he doesn't think that EOS can catch Ethereum. I have been very bearish on EOS, but only because they got paid $4 billion to release a product that the community is building. But the community is doing a really good job. I have a lot of friends that are building products on EOS, and they're very, very brilliant. But EOS is doing a really good job at recruiting Ethereum developers, and they're doing it through EOS hackathons and meetups, and they're basically bribing them with swag gear and Dan Larimar and some other things. But yeah. Okay, let's take a look at Ethereum. So the majors are probably looking the best here. So on the hourly, we were getting a lot of 200 MA respect. We did not get that 200 MA respect. On this latest dump, we did have like a quick bounce, but then we broke through. So this 200 MA may act as resistance on the way up. We are definitely coming out of oversold on the hourly. Let's take a look at the 4 hour. So the 100 MA caught us on the 4 hour. We're closing right on this 100 MA. So if this 100 MA holds, it should take us at least up to 272 before a drop back down. Let's look at ETH BTC. So ETH BTC, it got supported by that 200 MA as well. Let's see. I was looking at this line here. Resistance, broke up, and then it finally came down. Tested the 200 MA, which had been, rejected on the 4 hour rejected, and then it bounced here. And I can close some of these other ones if it makes it easier for you guys to see. All right. So we had this pennant, came down, retested the lower end of the support. I'm not sold on Ethereum right here. I was in like the 150s, 160s level. As I said a couple of times, this could be a little bit of a right angle broad wedge. I don't know, pretty choppy. We'll have to see how this level reacts right here. I'm not really super sold on whether or not this level is going to hold for us. I think it's just going to move with Bitcoin, to be honest. I know some analysts are very, very bullish on ETH, but this could be setting up for, a move below this, back down to retest this. I like EOS more than ETH right now. Oh, that's an interesting trend line. So it's a retest of this breakout trend line here. Could be good. Still like EOS more. The way that I look at majors is I just try to find the most bullish major. Let's look at XRP. That kind of looks like shit. I'm still not bullish on XRP. Look at this. We hit this resistance right here. I know there were some people on Twitter that were talking about XRP. It seemed to bull trap a lot of people. Possibly a little bit of an Adam and Eve, but not a fan. We lost this trend line support, and that's looking pretty weak. All right, so somebody wanted OMG. If you guys want me to just look at specific charts, just throw them in the chat. And guys, ask as many questions as you want. Ask, what moving averages I'm using. What else I'm looking at. Ask anything you guys want. There's about 100 of you guys on here. And these streams are for you, so ask whatever you're looking for. OMG has been very, very disappointing. Maybe a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders here. Kind of an awkward neckline. I don't know. it's not really getting much momentum, and the team's not really releasing any news that makes me want to, I think I have 20,000 OMG that, maybe 30,000 OMG that I bought at like $6, and it's in cold storage. So I think it's down, what's it at, like $2 right now? So it's down 60%. 30,000 times 6. So yeah, about 180K. And so it's sitting around, what is it, 250? Yeah, not great though. I don't really feel like cost averaging this one down. The IEOs are much better movers. We're hitting a lower, this support right here that supported it a few times, broke up. It's kind of coiling at this resistance for the time being. Got a pretty strong resistance here. So I don't know. It's got a lot of work to do to get back to any sort of a bullish structure. Still in a massive downtrend. Nothing about this really, speaking to me. What are the best moving averages for swing trade and best time frame? So swing trading, the moving averages I use are 50, 20, 100, 200, 357, 500. And then there's another one, which is I'll go over that in just a second. Yeah, it's just members, so you can ask any question. It's not like a ton of public people, so ask any questions you guys got. No question's a dumb question. Okay, so I also like the 1189 MA. This is basically the 200 MA on the weekly. That also shows up on the. Why don't you use top hump right before one you used? I don't know what that means, Dave. How is 3 commas better for trading than just using Binance? I can't sit at a computer all day at work. 3 commas just helps you to manage trades better. So you can enter stop losses and targets at the same time, split them up. And if you guys are struggling with the targets, just take profits at target 1, or, below. Just lock in, Mark is a member, Mark B or whatever. Just lock in 7% consistent profits, just so you guys can start realizing gains and realizing profits to start making money. That's one of my recommendations for you guys. For the top trend line, how are you trading EOS on June 1st? That's a good question. I will assess it as we get closer. Every news event is different. I will probably put in a stop loss below my entry, but I will be watching it very closely to see what the news event is. And so that might be a very fast trade where it might dump, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9%. And then I'll try and buy in on the dump just in case the news is really big. Every news story is a little bit different, and it's just definitely a much more high risk play. But the way that they're acting, it just seems like it's going to be a really big news event. Okay, so OMG. Ascending triangle, Dave. I'm trying to get your question. Do you want me to hop in voice chat with you guys? Would that be easier? Okay. So Aeon, super strong fundamentals, but just, I don't know if they did like token lockup or what, but just took a 97% drop from the all-time high. We're on a 3-day chart too, weekly. It depends on how many positions I have open. I try and keep my position sizing, to like 2 to 3 positions, just so it's easier to manage. But sometimes in like a very strong uptrending month or market, I might have like 30 positions open. Bitcoin just broke the wedge. Which wedge? To the downside? Doesn't really look like too much has changed. Yeah, we definitely could dump, guys. So I think I took it from down here. Yeah. 83.23. So let's take a look here. So we got rejected at the 200 MA on the hourly. We got rejected at the 50 MA on the 4 hour. So let's look at 742. So EOS USDT is still holding up okay. We did break up to 748. Yeah, so if you guys want to close this EOS trade, Bitcoin looks like it's breaking down basically around break even. We'll probably come back down to the 728 level. Better to do that than get stopped out. I'm actually going to close. $83.20. Can you go over your TA preferences of what you like the most? I'm not shorting the market right now, Litecoin Bull, and I'm not really playing too much margin. The margin market has been really wacky. See, if you look at a 4 hour and you just look at these wicks, I just stay the hell out of markets like that. It's just so hard. I mean, unless you're just doing like 15-20 minute scalps, it's just really annoying to try and trade where it just, it'll do a 3% move in either direction, up and down, over and over. Do you think Bitcoin has a 100K, 200K peak potential for this next bull run? Yeah, I could see that. This rejection on this 50 MA, I think we just kind of range in between here for now. So if I've closed my trades and all in with Bitcoin right now and want to get into EOS, how should I sell and get into EOS, and what pairing, EOS USDT or something else? Is there a EOS? Yes. Yeah, so EOS USDC. The problem with these USDC and some of these other coins, I like them because they're federally backed, but they still don't have the liquidity that Tether has. And so you might face flash crashes, something like this, where the USDC coin doesn't have enough liquidity to support the marketplace. And so you might see the coin drop, 17. That's really hard to manage risk. Whereas EOS USDT, I don't know if this is any better, but yeah, so you're not getting that same level of wick here. It only went down 4%, here it went 6%. So that's kind of the drawback of using the USDC coins, is your risk management is a lot harder, and that's just kind of crypto in general. Let me see. What's our plan with the upcoming IEO, or depends on what Bitcoin is doing? So I know that a lot of you guys, the IEOs are really hard to gauge, just because they're like, even in Sealer, like, look at this. It started out up here. So even if you had, made it, you're still 44% down if you bought and held when the coin got listed. I called out Sealer in through down here, and it went up 115%, but now it's, from the lows, it's up like about 40%. So will this continue to, break up? I don't know. We just basically came up, rejected on this resistance, previous support, and then we came right back down. And on a Fibonacci level, it's probably the 786. Yeah, so we bounced on the 786. We're coming up to the 76, and we still are not above the 20 MA. Once we lost that, rejection. So my guess is we'll probably get, a full retrace on Sealer. But, if we break above the 20 MA and we can hold it, then that's a decent trade that we can, kind of hold for the 382 or the 236. But again, high time frame, we want to see those confirmations. If you were going to pick 3 coins to park on 2 to 4 year long-term investment, what would you pick? That's too hard of a question, especially in crypto. Regulation, I think, is a much bigger deal than people are talking about. Did anybody watch Craig Wright's live stream today? Jafar. So moving forward, I'm really only going to list probably 2 to 3 signals. If you want more, you can follow like the altcoin channels on the Discord. But for the most part, I really only want like 2 to 4 signals, and I just made that really clear with the team of analysts, just because I want to make it much more manageable, and I want to filter out as much noise as possible and just give you guys the best, highest quality trade setups. And we were doing that before, and we had a lot of success. But when coins start to move, there's an easy temptation to list out more trades. Yeah, EOS is kind of losing that support, so I closed it for now. I'll reopen it if I see anything, but that's looking pretty dumpy. Let's take a look at the full market. Yeah, see, that was what I was saying on Ripple. Ripple's starting to, looks like it's going to want to retest that 4,900 area. Ren, let's see. Ren's been a weird one. Got to printed a little bit of a higher low. I don't really want to be in too many alts with the market doing what it's doing. BTT holding the 50 MA for now. Den's moving pretty good. 22 sats. This is a pretty strong resistance though, so I would not be surprised to see a little bit of a cup and handle action. So maybe a pullback to the 16 to 18 level. TNT. I don't like to buy coins like this. You can oftentimes buy on the 786 and sell at the 618, and you can kind of see that's what it did here, 30% gain. I don't usually like to buy until I see some sort of confirmation break of this downtrend. And they kind of, Knowles is interesting. Looks like just kind of accumulation. It's a pretty strong project. But again, these coins are kind of shitty just because, they broke their all-time low supports and they can't even break back above it. Any advanced trading videos coming? Yeah, so we're about to release the 21-day trading challenge foundation, and it's got a lot of good stuff. It's got time frame analysis, risk management. It's basically the risk management video that I did, but kind of chunked down a little bit more. And then it's got trader psychology, market cycle analysis, basics to TA, which I go over, moving averages, Fibonacci, support resistance, trend lines. And it's not like I'm not giving you like, exact strategies, but it's a lot of information that will give you guys foundation, which, a lot of the information you can find places, but I try and explain it in a way that, kind of in a way that kind of flows. TNB, one of the coins that has not pumped yet. A little bit of a double bottom action being depressed down by this 20 MA. Again, it's all these coins right now are basically shit coins. VET, I was watching this. We had this channel, came down, retested it. Is it time yet to start buying small cap alts for long-term holds? we do have an investing section that's doing really well. And I would say there's maybe, I know somebody said 2 to 3 coins. I really like Atom as a project. I really like, what's it called? I really like Raven as a project. I don't like Poly. Poly is unpumped. But look at those flash wicks. It's kind of moving out though. It looks like it's trying to claim this 20 MA. Look at the hourly. Yeah, these coins that like didn't do move in at all with the rest of these alts. They're coins that like aren't really that interesting. I mean, this was like our alt season. Pump and then dump. Okay. So what do you think is next for BNB that the current IEO has done? BNB is probably the best long-term investment in crypto. It's always good to try and find good pullback entries. Let's take a look at the... So right now on the daily, it's holding the 100 MA. As long as this 7 EMA is above the 20 and above the 100, that's usually a pretty bullish structure. Let's see what the pullback is. This looks like a 382. Okay, so it's sitting on the 382 right now. The problem is if Bitcoin decides to dump more, the Bitcoin pair could go up, but the BNB USDT pair might not go up. So we got this double top, bearish, sort of double top, but bearish divergence on the daily for BNB. So a good place to look to long is usually around the 50 RSI. So can we hold EOS long term? I'll get back to that question in just a second. So we hit the 1272. We're finding support on the 1272 right now. The 1618 is still at $30, and that is a 23% move. We lost this trend line, bearish divergence. I would look to buy on this 20 moving average. Look what it did before. Supported, 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 supported. So if we can get down to this, and this is dynamic, okay? So it's not just the $30 level, but I would look for a breakdown again around the $30 mark, and that's probably where I'd buy BNB. Thoughts on HOT for the long term? It's a cool project. Ideal entry was, I don't know if I ever put it in my alt channel. I know that I threw it out a couple of times as a potential trade, but they didn't seem too keen on trading low sat coins, so we kind of skipped over them. So we're just now coming up to the 382. We got rejected pretty hard. And then we came back down, and now we look like we're trying to hold this 50 fib. So long term, if this decides to move in the bull market, and this level around here, 16 sats is the bottom, then 423 is 150 sats. And during a bull run, that's quite possible to see something like that. So if you want to get a moon bag, just a small position. We're currently holding the 200 MA on the daily, so definite confirmed uptrend, broke out of here, holding for now, and then moving up. You can also use the HOT USDT pair and try and catch like a pullback there. So we had this consolidation, breakdown, and then break up. So a 382 pullback. So yeah, so let's talk through a little bit of strategy. So if we have a lot of members and a lot of you guys can't get in on every single signal. And what I would do is I would figure out how much time you guys have to dedicate to the trades, to dedicate to the signals, and I would allocate your positions accordingly to your specific situation. So if you have a full-time job, it might be best to take only major trade calls in USDT pairings, so that you can set your stop losses and get out and, without having to manage it. If it's a low cap, small coin, those are a lot harder to manage than, a major coin, just because of the liquidity, the volume, all that stuff. Neo's actually started to get a nice little uptrend there, but we got rejected at this SR flip right back here. So when I say SR flip, what I'm saying is support resistance flip. Okay, so we broke above the 20 MA, which held it down, and then we broke above it. So the question is, can we hold that? So the Bitcoin chart looks actually pretty okay. We're facing some neckline resistance here. So what I would want to see is I'd want to see this break out and close above it, but we might be forming an ascending triangle also. These have been getting more and more common. So a decent entry on Neo BTC, probably like along this trend line, like once it touches, so 0.00143 or something like that. Neo USD. Gosh. I remember when this coin was 20 cents. That's when I first bought Neo. Nice uptrend. Broke the 200 MA, and it's starting to ride it really nicely. Looks pretty okay on USD pair. A lot of these coins are going to just depend on what Bitcoin does, I think. A little bit of a rising wedge. How do you decide when to look into USD pair versus Bitcoin pair? I like to look at both. I would preferably like to see a chart that has bullish both Bitcoin and bullish USD. Let me just pop open. Let me show you some stuff. So this is part of the thing that we did. Okay. Oops. So I'll just go through some of these patterns with you guys while we're doing a live stream. This will be fun. And then we can kind of like look through the charts and look for some things that we're looking for. So basically we use patterns in combination with a lot of other things, RSI, MACD, stochastic indicator. Brian uses Gann analysis. Max uses high time frame, SR flips, price action mostly. ICE, he's a very brilliant analyst out of Austria. He uses a lot more high time frame resistance. You can see Daft and Jazzy, they use more trend lines, patterns, and stuff like that. So there's no right way, there's no wrong way. The biggest thing is defining your edge, and I'll kind of talk about edges and how you guys can look at charts a little bit differently. But there's a lot of different patterns. There's bull and bear flags, bear traps also. These flags are not very reliable in my opinion in crypto. Head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders, I do not like those patterns either. I'll show you a little bit more like the price action that I look for. Ascending and descending triangles, this is my bread and butter. This is where I make most of my money, is ascending and descending triangles. Rising and falling wedges, These are pretty good if you're trying to short the market. I do like rising wedges, but in a Bitcoin parabolic market, I don't typically try and short too much. That's how we get liquidated pretty quickly. Cup and handle, this can get invalidated very, very quickly, especially if you're trying to buy on the handle. I like to buy breakouts of cup and handle patterns, and then I like to buy the retests. So I'll go over some of those. Adam and Eve double bottoms. I just like double bottoms in general, just because they are very low risk when you can catch it pretty early. And then pennants, symmetrical triangles, and bar patterns. These are all different patterns, but what I'll show you is, that's a classic flag, and that flag's actually pretty extended. Usually you want the flag to be a little bit less. You want it to be about half the distance of the flagpole, but the measured move of a flag pattern is basically the pole into a flag and then the pole, and that's the measured move, and that's where you want to take profits. You can always trail your stop losses and hope for more, but this is a great trade. Pole, flag, measured move, take profits. Bear flag, very similar. Very, very often what you'll see is you'll see impulse, correction, impulse in a bear trend. And so it's very, very easy to find this like top trading range and then take a short up here with a stop loss above like a wick or something like that. You can see this is probably a moving average. So when you see like prices move up like this, those are usually like moving averages. And so what you want to do is you want to cycle through the time frames to find what moving average it's hitting as it's pulling this down, and that's what you'll typically see, because those algos usually move on those types of things. I don't like head and shoulders patterns personally. I don't like inverse head and shoulders patterns perfectly. What this looks like to me is I'll draw a trend line here, and then I'll look for the breakout retest. So see how this wick comes up and then comes back down. That was the breakout and then the retest, and then you can basically trail your stop below here, breakout, trail the stop, breaks out, comes back down. So trail the stop below here, breaks out, comes back down. So you can continue to trail your stop losses as it moves up. If all you do is you just take profit at the inverse head and shoulders target or whatever, you can also do that too. We can also draw Fibonacci levels down here to get our targets, so on and so forth. So this is the best pattern in my opinion for you guys to trade. Very, very classic pattern. It's much easier to buy an ascending triangle in an uptrend. This is historically very, very accurate for buying breakouts. And if all you do is just look and wait for these types of setups, you're going to consistently outperform the market really, really well. So basically, when you find this pattern, it's got a flat top, meaning that, basically there's like a sell wall or just a lot of supply there. But basically, what you want to look for is higher low, higher low, higher low. And you can buy on one of these trend lines with a stop below the wicks or a stop below here in case the full trade is invalidated. And what you're looking for is you're looking for a breakout. So that's trade one, but you can also buy the breakout pullback. So this is a pattern that I try and look for on the charts. And you can find these on 5 minute, you can find these on 15 minutes, you can find these on 30 minute, you can find these on hour. Descending triangle, it's the opposite. You get lower high, lower high, lower high. That means that there's less and less buy interest, less buy interest, less buy interest, and the sellers are controlling the market to the downside. Cup and handle, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of these, but I do like the breakout. I like the breakout retest pattern. Then I'll take like 6, 7, 8%. Falling wedges, very, very classic patterns. The best way to typically play these is to buy the breakout retest. But if you find like it's on lower support and you find like a moving average, or you find like a very strong bullish div, you can buy on this lower end support. When you get a breakout and retest, what's the confirmation trigger to actually enter? Would it be a low time frame bullish candle, for example? Do you ever have limit orders set at the retest? Yes, I do. And the confirmation would be 2 15-minute candles that close above the resistance. For me, anyway. Every analyst is a little bit different. Every analyst trades a little bit different. And we all have our own styles and patterns. But the whole goal is that you guys have access to essentially what amounts to a trading desk. BART pattern, Crypto Cred posted a really cool strategy on BART patterns and what it looks like typically. But patterns, all this stuff, this is kind of defined in that 21-day trader challenge along with a few other things. But those are just some of the patterns that I'm looking for. Again, this looks like a rising wedge on NEO USD. So, these typically break up in bull markets, but with Bitcoin doing what it's doing, I could see this breaking down and then getting another pullback down to maybe this 100 MA level or whatever's being respected the most. Let's look at the 4-hour. What's supporting it right now? Looks like the 100 MA, but yeah. So I'd have to look at it a little bit more, but it just looks this chart's not like super clean. There's no good SR levels that we can kind of work off of. Okay, let's look at Raven. Okay, so nice falling wedge structure. We missed this 581 bounce that I was looking for from before. Very, very long, extended, consolidated. I did not enter this trade because we lost the 200 MA. We lost the 200 MA on the daily, and we didn't actually even have it back here. So I was a little bit skeptical of this trade just because we had lost the 200 MA, but we had a very solid bounce. These wicks are very telling. See this wick? Sellers are controlling the Raven market. Wick here, wick here. Look at how massive these wicks are. Little buy support here, but for the most part, sell down, sell down, sell down, sell down, sell down. So I don't know. I'd probably want to see the what do we want to see here? Let me look at the 1 hour. Sorry if this is kind of hard to see, guys. So it broke out, came down, but broke back up. Kind of an interesting situation. Yeah, I don't see anything too crazy. Thanks for the time, learning a lot, good stuff. I'm a sponge right now, lol. No problem, man. Any project on the horizon that interests you, like Hedera, for example? There are 2 projects coming up. I think the biggest IEO launch will be Casper. I'm not allowed to say that they're being launched as an IEO, but hold on one sec. I'll pull up the I don't know if you guys know this. Steve Narioff is a big proponent of this. He was the architect for the Ethereum ICO. He was the legal architect. He's a lawyer. I don't know if you guys know who Steve Narioff is. He's a good personal friend of mine. And he's trying to get me into this Casper Labs. Strong team. It's basically like a building side chains, scalability for Ethereum to make everything work really, really well using delegated proof of stake and some other stuff. But this supposedly will be, the layer 2 for for Ethereum, and they're launching they're doing a big announcement in Toronto. Steve Narioff and Vitalik Buterin basically saying that Casper and Ethereum will be partnering together as the layer 2 scaling solution for Ethereum. So it's a big project. I'm personally not investing into it just because they wanted to lock the funds up for like 18 months. And I'm not, I don't know. It's probably going to be massive. I mean, to be honest, this will probably do a 10, 20x. If any of you guys want to invest, let me know. I can probably connect you if you don't mind having your tokens locked up for 18 months. But that will be, I think, one of the new IEOs. What else is coming out? Another project coming out is called VideoCoin. Long term, I'm very bullish on that. I put like $250,000 into the ICO. It's the CEO is a really cool guy. I'll probably try and bring him on my channel, but his name is Halsey Minor, and Halsey Minor started. Sorry if I'm clicking my lips. Halsey Minor Halsey Minor started Google Voice, Salesforce, NBC, CNET, Uphold, Live Planet, OpenDNS. He founded a lot of these companies, so massive guy. This is the guy, though, that I'm most bullish on, Devaduta Ghat. He was the architect for NVIDIA's video encoder that was sold to Facebook for Facebook Live. So this is the guy who basically architected, or maybe it was Intel. I think Intel video encoder, and they sold it to them. But a strong team, and they've got a lot of partners and a ton of VC capital behind them. And I was trying to get them listed on Binance. I actually was trying to work with CZ, but I think they're launching it on Huobi first, because Binance has like a really long roadmap. So VideoCoin, the other one was Casper, and then what's another project that's coming out? Harmony. Yeah, so there's some other good ones. I think that Binance does a really good job at their vetting process. How best to evaluate a signal that has a USDT/USDC partner when I'm holding Bitcoin and not fiat-backed coins? That's a good question. So ZRX looks like it's lost its structure. Yeah, it's starting to dump. Okay, so when I am looking at, okay, so let's, Sealer, we were looking at that earlier. Okay, so what was the question? So how to evaluate? The main reason why we issue stablecoin calls is so that you can move back into stablecoin if the market is kind of at a decision, and it's to lock in profits. You know, a lot of you guys kind of get this FOMO feeling when you're not in Bitcoin. I would really, really encourage you to kind of control that, because if you weren't in Bitcoin, but like we hadn't put out a Bitcoin call in a while, and you had just taken EOS, the risk on that trade was about 3% or 4%. So you can take a pretty big position size. You can take 30%, 40% of your portfolio, and it went up about 9%. So you can cash out. So you just grew your portfolio 3% if you took 30% of your portfolio on that trade. IOTA was a USDT pair, and that went up 18%. And I think the risk was like 1%. So essentially you could have put your entire portfolio into that IOTA trade and made 18% on your entire portfolio with a very, very small risk. And so that's why we issue those types of trades that have tight risk, because if we don't have a Bitcoin call out, we want to make sure you guys can get into some fiat pairing so you can grow your portfolio, which grows your Bitcoin value as well. But what part of that 21-day trader challenge, and we're writing a guide, basically architecting, what are you trying to do? Are you just trying to grow your Bitcoin, or are you just trying to grow your USD value? I personally like to make money. I pull a lot of money out of the markets. I set limits for myself. If I make, $150,000, $200,000 in a month, I'll cut myself off, and then I'll just, pull cash out of the markets. And so I like to pull money out of the markets. I like to spend money. My long-term Bitcoin portfolio, I've had it for a very long time, and it's just cold storage. You should do a challenge for your members. What kind of challenge would you like to do? Can we hold EOS for long term? What's long term? 88.90. Yeah, so it's kind of getting sold down now. Looks a little bit like distribution. 1 year. I don't really I can't really answer that question just because the market's moving so fast and anything can happen in 1 year. If you're looking more for the investing side, I would definitely encourage you to watch Mark's webinar. He is all about investing and holding long term. I have definitely become more of a trader in crypto because of the volatility, the ups and down swings, and the fast moving markets myself. Okay, link. I thought the 21-day challenge was for us. It is, yeah. The 21-day challenge is basically every day or every 3 days it releases a new module that give you, some videos to watch. So basically, mostly we want to try and get you guys up to speed as much as possible. Are you guys considering maybe putting on each trade the percentage of risk each trade has? Like how you mentioned IOTA has a 1% risk. Something like that would be helpful as we figure out which trades to take. Yeah, each trade has, let me show you. Gosh, I love our website. It's just so clean looking. I designed it though, so a little biased. Okay, so what's a good percentage target for growing a portfolio if you don't need to take money out ongoing? So everybody varies with this. I would say realistically, think about what the, so this one has a 6% risk, right? This was, I think, a trade Brian put out. So on this trade with a 6% risk, you don't want to risk 100% of your portfolio. So if you use the calculator, explain your bad trader tweet. Okay. So if with a 6% risk, and with a 13% target, that means we've got a 2-to-1 RR. Very bullish. This kind of was reliant on Bitcoin continuing up on its uptrend, which it looked like it wanted to do. It broke 9,000. I think this was given out at like 8,600, 8,700, something like that. So with a 6% stop loss, you factor that in. That's the risk on this trade. But your total risk, so let's say your portfolio is $1,000. Okay, so already if you put $1,000 into this trade, and you're gonna risk $60 on this trade, but that's 6% of your total portfolio. Okay, now if you want to reduce your risk and on $1,000 you only want to lose $10, so you get 1%. Okay, so let's say you only want to risk 2%. So then you do times 0.02. So the most you want to risk is $20, even if it's $10. So let's say you want to risk 1%. If you want to keep it really small. So it's $10. Then what you do is you divide that by the stop loss. And that gives you your position size. So on a $1,000 portfolio, you're going to use $166 in this position. So you're going to buy $166 of BAT with a 6% stop loss. That's going to give you a 1% risk of your total portfolio. If you even want to reduce that even more, so if you want to use 0.05% risk, times 0.05, so $50, 1,000 times 0.005, sorry. So you're going to risk $5, then you divide that by 0.06, so 6%. So you're going to use an $83 position. And then so if you get a 13% win, so you're going to multiply that by 83 times 0.13. So you made an $11 profit on that $80 trade. But you're only risking $5, right? 2-to-1 RR. So you take your $11 profit and you put it in. Now with fees on, on an $86 position, so you made like $8 or $9. That doesn't seem like much, and that's not like, great, but you're only risking 0.5% of your total portfolio. Now on a trade like, let's go down, let's see. Should have kept Atom open. Why did I close this? I think, let me see who closed this. Okay, oops. Okay, so let's keep going down. So IOTA. What was the original stop? So the original stop was negative 5%. So same concept, you use the 2% risk rule, you divide that, and then you go from there. Are your SR and trend line drawn consistently in relation to wicks and open closes, or is it just whatever looks correct at the time, like sometimes drawn across a combination of wicks? Yeah, so that's where the risk right here, risk high, risk high, risk high. I will produce some medium call, medium risk trades. Yeah, I think it was just because Bitcoin was still at a decision point, is why a lot of these were high risk. I'm long-term EOS. Look how ETH boosted. Yeah, I think EOS. I think everything's just kind of dependent on Bitcoin right now. So I'm not super interested in rushing back into the market. That got bought up pretty quickly. So we lost this wedge here, but it got bought back up pretty quick. Yeah, I'd give it a little bit of time. I think we'll consolidate a little bit down here before it's going to make a big decision. Okay, BTT. So BTT, the big thing that I saw on BTT was it kept holding the 200 MA on the 4-hour. I wanted to put out a call for it, but I don't think we did. So it's holding this 4-hour 200 MA, kind of wick down. Looks like it's holding the 50 MA right now, which has supported it once, twice. So this could be a good buy. Decent, and it's holding that 50 MA, but if it breaks the 50 MA, then it's probably going to come down to 15 sats. The problem with these types of trades is your risk is really hard to manage because 2 sats and you're already down 16%. But if you look at BTT USDT, yeah, we're holding that 50 MA. You can see we bounced off it really well. And look at the SR flip. And we've got this trend line. And let's look at the holding the 382 right now. So interesting. BTT looks like it might want to continue, but yeah, see, this is where we want to try and get entries, down here at the 382s or stuff like that. But I like these pullbacks a little bit more. We're definitely in uptrend, and we're pulling back across the market, but Bitcoin's looking a little strange, so. Okay, if we are slightly late, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab a drink really quick, and I'll be right back, and then I'll answer more questions. And then think of other questions you guys want to ask. Think of other charts you want me to take a look at. If you want me to go over strategy, I'll answer the late entries. I'm just gonna grab a quick drink, so I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Okay, so the question was, what about the risk percentage that relates to market condition technicals? I think I answered that. Trade in a bear market has a higher risk than a bull market. Yeah, it's just all about the setup. To me, bear market, bull market. Obviously, bear market is much more high risk, but they all have good setups that we're looking for. See, this is a tough call to make because this was the entry, but it was so fast that let me close this down. That buying here, you basically have to have preset buy orders down here, but buying up here, you're buying into resistance, which was the 236, and also a little bit of an SR flip. So this looks like it wants to continue, but this was the trade to make. It was like a 16% move in just an hour. So buying the dip and moving up here, but buying now, your risk reward is great because where's your stop loss going to have to go? It's going to have to go down here or down here. So your risk reward gets moving. Anyway, to short Bitcoin for US traders. Yeah, you can use a VPN on some of these leverage exchanges. You can, Kraken, I think is a US based exchange that you can short on. I don't like Kraken too much though. My buddy owns this company. Immunity Aid helps build your immunity. I don't know if you guys ever had this, but it's pretty good. I like the Focus one too, but it's pretty late, so I don't want to drink Focus. Mathy, assuming we spend 5 to 8 hours per day learning and trading, do you think we can master at least the basics and make consistent income in 6 months? If you get the right habits early on, and I would say that's the most important thing is getting the right habits. I was making very consistent. Well, okay, so my trading style when I first got started, I'm 35 now. I got started when I was like 19. I bought an options course after I got back from the Army. My trading style was incredibly aggressive and very, very high risk, high reward. So I would double, triple my portfolio, watch it come down 60, 70%. I just was not following any sort of risk management. And so I would burn my portfolio multiple times. But there's like a timeline. What they say is with trading, especially like trading on your own, taking executions, taking setups and stuff like that. It's more, the first year is your donation to the market to other experienced traders, and that's like your tuition. So I usually recommend starting out with a very small portfolio, depending on, what you're trying to do. So, $1,000 to $2,000, $3,000. And the goal is you want to try and grow a small account. If you can't grow a small account, you can't grow a big account. More money does not make you a better trader. And it won't, the more money that you trade with, it just changes the style and the strategy. But I was at one point in time trading with, like $3 million. And it was stupid. There was no point in even trading those larger position sizes. So I reduced my risk down to, 200 grand, 200, 300 grand. And that's pretty much all I trade with consistently. And I just continuously pull out profits from the market rather than leaving it in there long term. I mean, I do have like a long-term Bitcoin portfolio, but I'm pretty well diversified and spread. And I even have like a pretty large cash position as well. But, that's my personal stuff. And so to each their own, depends on tax strategies, tax bracket, depends on, your risk. If you're single, and you can, get away with it if you don't have a family. I mean, all those things kind of factor in what your bills are like, what your overhead's like, what your business expenses are like. All those things need to be factored into, your kind of trading lifestyle. If you follow my Twitter, one thing I did say was don't quit your job. It's so much easier to trade when you have a full-time income, secondary income kind of backing it up, just because it takes a lot of pressure off to perform. been consistent with your signals and I'm doing well so far with risk management. Excellent. Yeah, so just as long as you're doing risk management, you're not going to get wrecked with, like we hit a couple stop losses today. As long as you're calculating your position sizes and you're playing it smart, you're going to do well. And when, market conditions are right, you can make a lot of money, and then it's about managing risk. I think someone mentioned it earlier in chat. Whenever I see like a massive, awesome altcoin month or Bitcoin month, man, it's really like I've gone back and I've done all the data analytics. The next month is just shit. It's just like stop loss after stop loss after stop loss. You'll see like, the month before you'll see 100, 200% altcoin moves, but then they just kind of continuously correct and kind of break down technical levels. What do you think is the best way to learn technical analysis, specifically like where any videos, books, sites, course recommendations? Okay, so what do you think is the best way? Yeah, Crypto Cred has a good series. It's a little technical, a little dry. Personally, I don't get like a super ton of value from it, but a lot of people like it. I like who did I start out watching? There's a really good book called Wall Street, Wall Street Master with Trader Vic. Wall Street Master. I think I covered this on this last. Methods of a Wall Street Master. That's a really good book to read. Okay, so stock market lost 100 billion right now. Futures are down. Do you expect this to influence crypto? Tariffs on Mexico. I think that institutions are coming into Bitcoin. I am long-term bullish. Like I said before, I think that Bitcoin can reach $100,000, $200,000. You have to separate and segregate in your mind long-term investing versus trading. Trading, the main goal is to make money, and make money consistently. If you guys are looking for investing, I would highly encourage you to sign up for Mark's investing newsletter, which is also on Signal Profits. It's very, very well done, and since January 1st, he's got a lot of positions that are up, 50 to 200%. So if you're into the hodling mentality, if trading is not your thing, I would encourage you to check out the investing side because it's very, very well done. And I work with him on long-term fundamental holds, and we use a lot of our our connections to see where the market's moving, to develop the investing thesis and stuff like that. And holding is a very different mentality, psychology than trading. I just really, really love trading, and I like, for me, it makes the most sense because of the volatile nature of the markets. But yeah. Do you find the 80-20 rule applies to trading where 80% of your profit is made in just about 20% of the year? 1,000%, Matt. That is a very, very good assessment. Yeah, I'd say, in 2018, 80% of my profits were made in April and September. In the other months, it was probably like maybe 10, 15, 20% growth. But April was like a 400 or 500 portfolio percentage growth. And then September, I think, was close to like 200 or 300% or something like that. Ash BZ. Thoughts on GNT? Fundamentally or from a chart perspective? Why is it pulling up Poloniex? So this looks like an accumulation range, and it's basically sitting on support right now, but it just lost that 100 MA on the 4 hour. So let's take a look at the daily and see if that might be like the 200 MA. Okay, so it's holding the 20 MA right now. As long as this 7 EMA can hold above that 20 MA, that's a pretty decent accumulation range. It's actually a pretty low risk trade. You can see like we're basically just sitting right on support. So you can basically set like a 4% stop right here, and then play the top of this range for 10% and try and just look how many like ups and downs this thing has. Up, down, up, down, up, down. So when you find a range like that, you can exploit that with let's find a better. So something like that. So you can use, let me just get rid of these moving averages. So when you got a range like this, you know, and it comes down, taps at once, comes up. So you can, once you start to find this range, boom, 12%, boom, you know, 12%. This one broke out for 30%. So, you know, anywhere in here you could have sold. But again, this top of this range is pretty straightforward. Now, will this keep repeating? Maybe, but, you know, with something like this, you could set your buy orders like here. So be really, really patient with your buy orders instead of trying to. My favorite thing to do is just like basically set like little fishing nets out there. If it bounces, you know, even here, and like let's say it's here, you know, you can set some buy orders down here on 3 commas, 1106, 1105, and try and get filled on, you know, a move down here, and then hope it bounces after that. But yeah, that's one thing. Where do you see Bitcoin going in June after such a strong past few months? Well, it really depends on. Yeah, see, we just got sold down pretty hard there. 82.65. You're welcome. Ash, are you in Discord? Someone was just complaining today that we don't have. I don't know if you're. I can't really see your profile picture, but if you guys aren't in. Everything USDT is going to kind of reside on weight on Bitcoin, in my opinion. Okay, so Bitcoin in June. So what were we just talking about? What I've been using that's been working pretty well is this 2017 price action. So if we look at it on the daily, this 2017 price action has been very, very clean, very, very reliable. I don't know if you guys saw the last stream where we were basically like at the like same area, and I said we were forming like a right angle broad wedge like here, and same thing here. We were forming this right angle broad wedge like this. And I said before it broke up and it touched around 8,000 and then it dropped back down. And so we popped up, we touched around 8,000 here, and then we dropped down. We got rejected. And then on this one, so we have the same level here, and then in through here, I was trying to find some fractal stuff in through here, but look at this wick that we had here, 11,500 all the way down to 88.4. So I was trying to find, did we have any sort of price action that kind of resembled what we've got going on now? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Wabi. Can we consistently grow our portfolio just by taking signals? Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of what you're signed up for. Posted this chart not too long ago, but I said it likes to dump out of these channels. Came down, tested, dumps. And then I think I posted this before we were on this trend line, but I said just be careful of the dump. So it dumped. So let's see if we can. Yeah, for some reason it's following these like weird angles. Yeah, we're just in kind of a non-confirmed, just a downtrend. Maybe a double bottom here. We might get a little bit of a bounce, maybe back up to here. Yeah. If there's no more question, guys, hopefully that went over some of the strategy. Ideally, the biggest thing is what we want to look for are high quality USDT trade setups. We're seeing a little bullish reaction out of the market, but when you see all green like this, it's just important to kind of just tune it out, because these are most likely dead cat bounces after the big sell-off. Raven had a nice little breakout retest and kind of holding this outside of the flag. Might be decent, but again, anything that we look for. How much do you think I can invest in a computer to trade as 1 to 2 or 3 monitors? Hold on. Let me finish my thought real quick. If we're going to take any trade in Bitcoin, we have to make sure that Bitcoin's drop doesn't offset it. So if Bitcoin, oops. So we're at like 8270 now, and if Bitcoin, it got sold down, it bounced up to 8363, and we're at 8270. But if this thing decides to drop, and let's say it just, it comes down to the 72, if it goes down 12.71%, we need a trade that's going to outpace Bitcoin value. So, maybe the trade goes up 18%, but Bitcoin drops 12%. But if Bitcoin drops from this, trend line right here, from where we're at, most likely alts are going to get pretty wrecked in the process. So it's important that we kind of identify what our goals are. And so right now our goal is to protect our capital, not give our capital back to the market, and wait for a higher quality, higher confirmation setup. Sean Thomas says, my main trading account has increased 57% in the last 30 days. That's awesome, man. I know, and it really depends on your position sizes and your risk that you're willing to take. I know one guy said he 5x'd his portfolio, but, and again, if you're using risk properly and you're taking 2 to 3 quality signals or setups, you can legitimately grow faster, because in 2 or 3 setups, if you're doing 20%, 30% of your portfolio, and the risk is small, like 2%, and the RR is high, the RR being risk reward. So if your stop loss is 3%, but your target is 10%, well, that's a 3-to-1 RR. And if you consistently take those trades, and even at 50% win-loss ratio, on having 2 to 3 RR trades, you're gonna make consistently really, really good money, even with a 50% win-loss ratio, which in what's the month? In May, we had close to like a 60 to 70% win ratio, I think even higher. But yeah, so that's the one thing. The big thing that I see that's happening a lot are people can't enter on the shitcoin calls. I don't trade a lot of those. I know that Brian really likes to trade those, but what I would say is do not market buy those types of calls, just because the liquidity is low and you really want to make sure that your entry is good. Just because, that's ideal. You want to make sure that your entry is good. So always wait till it gets back to that entry. And so what I would say is, just wait for that lower entry. And if you don't get that lower entry, don't worry about the trade. Just really shut your mind down to FOMO. Okay, that's the biggest thing that I would suggest. There's always another trade, and the market always gives us pullback opportunities. What's a good stop for Bitcoin if we are currently in? like I said before, I mean, if we lose this trend line, we closed below it, but then we came back up. But if we lose this trend line, that's no bueno. I think that we'll probably chase our tail around the 8,000 mark. So hard to do that. Have you guys considered adding automatic updates when you guys close a trade? When we close a trade, it tells you automatically when the trade gets closed. In Discord, if you look under market trading updates, it'll say when the thing is closed. Yeah, so I had them build everything that you guys see. I'm constantly having them build into the back end. So yeah, so we're going to be able to put long and short entries, like for Binance Margin for people that are doing that. I don't get the emails though. I can ask our dev team about that. Sorry for the noise. I'm thirsty. I can ask the dev team about that. But this, what was the original stop loss? Yeah. Nice little bounce back. We're just holding this trend line right now. Right back into the same little pennant here. This could have definitely been a bull trap where people kind of entered into their short plays up here. But for the most part, people are long. Any other questions, guys? I think I'm going to probably wrap it up. I'm going to try and get some sleep tonight. So watch over the market. I think that Ice will be on in a little bit to answer any questions. He's a great trader. I really like, all of my traders. They all have their investing strategy package. 1.2K was a bit pricey. What I would say is for the investing side, it's actually cheaper than almost any other investing newsletter in the market. But it's very, very different than, let's say, Palm Beach Confidential or Agora or any one of these other guys, because we're like crypto insiders essentially. I mean, we deal with all the developers, all the teams, but we also combine technical analysis with the fundamental analysis. So Mark will give me a list of coins that he really, really likes. And I've got alerts and monitors set up for when I think that it would be a good time to start accumulating them long term, just from a technical perspective. And then I'll send that over. So he has a fast mover portfolio, and then he's got the investing portfolio. So it's all. But yeah, so there's always different deals and specials depending on the different time of the year and the promotions. I'll be very, very upfront and honest. I am solely focused on running the trading side of things. And, I do deal in the investing side of things, but I don't really do much with the marketing. So the Facebook ads you guys see, I don't do any of those. And I do write some of the emails, but for the most part, I'm just mostly in Discord and, focusing on working with the traders and the analysts to make sure that you guys are consistently making money. All right, cool, guys. Well, thanks for hanging out. It's about an hour and 45 minutes. I tried to answer a bunch of questions. What we're waiting for right now is just a little bit more of a higher time frame confirmed setup. But the reason why, thanks, pass my appreciation to Murad. He's the one who mentioned your name and found you on Signal Profits. Oh, absolutely. Murad's a great trader himself. I mean, that guy's consistently pulling in. He has a hedge fund, but him and David Puel, they're very, very good. Jacob, I made $1,000 because of your live stream. Awesome, man. Thanks for your time. Very helpful and informative. Yeah, I can do these guys. I can do these a lot more. I'm still shorting the wedge. Yeah, absolutely. Um, the which live stream? I'm trying to remember which one you're even talking about. This live stream. Yeah. So one big thing. So one thing that I would definitely want your guys' help with is we're gonna definitely need some beta testers, but I want to show you what is coming up. So hold on. You guys will like this. If you guys want to hang out for 1 second. Okay, so so dark themes. So check this out. This is what's coming. This is going to, whoops. Let me see. How do I zoom out in this? Basically, this is a software that we are developing. It's a market scanner, trade automator, and then a trading journal. So it takes about 5 different platforms and it puts them all together. So this is going to be a trade scanner that's going to basically identify trade setups from volume, Fibonacci, moving average, crossovers to moving average pullbacks. And then this is going to be a 3 commas-esque, but with more intuitive features, faster, try and decrease the lag. And then those features will be built into a trading journal where, you know, if you're trying to trade reversal setups, when you're trying to trade continuation patterns, when you're trying to trade, you know, all these other things where you can actually track and your setup, your success rate, know which ones to avoid. And so when we launch this, a lot of you guys will be getting like a 30-day trial as members. And then, but yeah, so right now my name in my name in progress is Mercury app, the Mercury trading app, because Mercury was the god of finance for Rome. And he was also the god of trade, grain trade. So Mercury Trader app, Mercury app, that's kind of my name in progress, but I might do like a naming competition or something like that. But super stoked on it. The UI UX is getting built out right now. The devs are hard at work on it, but that'll be really, really cool. And it'll also have copy trade. So anybody that's a member here, we'll set up basically the trade on this platform, you know, from the we'll have, you know, the targets, the entry, and then you just click, you know, take the trade, and then it'll take you over to your platform, and it'll have everything entered in for you. At least that's the goal. So hopefully the devs can build it out like that, and then we'll have some other features as we build along the way. But took a lot of time, took a lot of energy, took a lot of effort to kind of concoct all the logic for the trade scanner system, and then the trade automation, and having them all integrate together. But the goal was to have a all-in-one suite rather than the other stuff. So that's what's coming down the pipeline. But yeah, so cool. Thanks for hanging out, guys. And we'll do another live stream. I'll be on in Discord, and I'll post some chart setups as the market kind of moves, and then we'll go from there. See you guys. Yeah, you guys will really, really enjoy the feature or the software once it's built. All right, I'll see you guys in Discord.